Bruins. Let the Bruins play. All right, thanks, man. Let's make some TV.
Good evening and welcome to Whaler Guys. I'm Jerry Irwin, and on that side of the blue line, Pete Mad Dog Hindle.
That's what they say.
That's right.
At least you.
Nah. So anyways, we're going to set up a new format this week. We're going to do Period 1, NHL, Period 2, UConn or the Wolfpack, and Period 3, we're going to wrap it up with the Wolfpack.
Right.
So we hope you enjoy it. We're trying to kind of organize the show a little bit for everything going on in hockey. And really, this NHL is off to a fast start, and one of the big surprises, well, you pick it, is it the New Jersey Devils that ended up with 70 points in all of last year, second to last in the NHL?
You're right.
Or is it the Las Vegas Golden Knights?
Oh, brother. Hey, well, let's get Danny's behind the glass tonight. Let's get a look at that first picture here. Now, we talked about this last week. This is really big. So, as we know, Malcolm Subban, for the Bruins was released without any trades or anything, and so the Golden Knights picked him up, and Marc-Andre Fleury got hurt, and they throw him in net, and he's playing against the Bruins. You saw this game. You watched it on TV, right?
Yeah, and I tell you, with Fleury out of the lineup, he's going to be out for quite a while with a knee injury. He was put on injured reserve, so that's anytime you're on IR, it's a long distance type of injury. And Subban, I must say, not that the Bruins were overwhelming as we talked about off camera. They had a total of 22 shots for the whole game.
Right.
And Malcolm Subban, watching, the shots that he did face, they weren't easy.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, at 19:30 of the third period, he gave up a goal.
So he shuts him out for 59 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But he got the win.
And I actually feel really good for him because we saw him in Providence about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was very young back then.
Yeah.
And of course, being in the spotlight with the same last name as a wonderful defenseman, Pekan Subban, cannot be an easy feat to follow.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think just watching him the other night, I think he's found his own spot there in Las Vegas. You're still on the rocks about if you want to see Las Vegas succeed. To me, they're there.
Oh,
and the attendance has been good for the Golden Knights.
Yes.
And I think it's important that if they're supported, I cannot have a problem with that.
Yeah.
If the fans are there every night and they have a good, rabid fan base, good for them.
Yeah.
It should be in every NHL city.
Yeah.
And we had a good fan base here in Hartford, and hopefully we can attract a team once that budget thing gets squared away.
There's always budget issues here in Connecticut. But, in regards to the Vegas Knights, it's an expansion team. Sometimes you start off a little hot. Let's see how they are in, November, December, and, get a look at it. Losing Marc-Andre Fleury, as if it isn't hard enough to get into an expansion season and produce well. Now you lost really you're probably your top player. He's really the most known name that they have.
Well, he took Pittsburgh to the Cup last year.
Yeah, and there was a couple of AHLers that were in Hartford, Marcia Salt, and the other one was I just lost his name. He was a Ranger guy last year. Was pulled off their line. Lindbergh.
Oh yes, yes, Oscar Lindbergh.
And I think they even got hurt. So I guess it's only been 6 games. They're 5-1-0. I think they lost one game.
5-1-0.
And they beat Buffalo, I think, last night or the night before.
Okay.
So in other words, here we go, and they're getting into it, and where are they going to end up? Because like you said, the Devils are at 70 points. And Colorado was at 48 points.
Right.
I didn't even know it was that bad last year.
Yeah, when you look it up, it was quite disturbing.
Yeah. So
the other thing that you have to look at when it gets into these inaugural seasons, as they say, the only team other than the Golden Knights was the Montreal Canadiens in their inaugural season into the NHL in 1917/18.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the other team that went 5-1-0.
It was only 100 years ago.
That's it, 100 years ago.
So every century this happens. So
apparently,
congratulations to the Golden Knights.
I guess in 100 years we'll get another expansion team.
If the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs.
They would be, and I really want to see. Obviously, the Devils are totally off the wall this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
And just on that particular topic, they have a defenseman, Will Butcher, who helped the University of Denver in this last NCAA championship win the championship. He was also in 2016-2017 the Hobie Baker Award winner.
Wow.
He was picked by the Devils, and he signed a $950,000 a year entry-level contract.
Yeah.
And he has become, in this short season, the only NHL player ever to have 9 assists in his first 6 career games.
Yeah, I remember that the Denver college winning the
University
and
of
that
Denver,
was that was Kevin Dineen's alma mater.
Yes,
so
it was.
how about that? So he came from the same school that Kevin Dineen did, and
he's off to a fantastic start.
9 assists in 6 games.
Yeah. So
playmaker.
You wish a lot of the teams we follow had a defense.
Yeah, this is true.
The other neat stat I found was Malkin for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Evgeny Malkin has passed Mario Lemieux with the most overtime goals at 11 goals. He just passed him with 11.
I did not know that.
11 goals, overtime winners.
I didn't know he was that much. Yeah, so he's
an
overtime killer. It's not really Crosby that gets the overtime winner.
What kills me about him,
he gets the pass.
I'm not a big fan of Crosby. I think he's a baby. He's a whiner. What really kills me is when you watch Malkin. He's a big guy, but he's a hog. He always wants to pass. He wants to pass, but he doesn't pass to anyone.
No. He's the rifle.
I can't stand the two of them. I can't stand because one whines too much because he gets pushed or whatever. He had a shot on Holtby the other night that should have been a penalty, and they didn't even call it. And it goes back to favoritism in the NHL. You know it exists. Gretzky was treated the same way, and I have a difficult time with that.
You know what? Pittsburgh is going to be the team that everyone's gunning for. A lot of the NHL experts, more experts than us at least, picked Pittsburgh to win the Cup again. Even with some of the transition, because they did lose a goaltender. They lost, Nick Bonino. They lost Ron Hainsey. They lost some players. But, they're still kind of the favorite. So you got to see how that kind of goes. We really don't. You don't really know what's going to happen in the season. Who's going to turn out to be the favorite? Does Pittsburgh have enough to win a third or a cup?
A neat statement was made today by former Hartford Whaler Ken Holland.
Oh wow!
The goalie that we had here for a little while. The GM of now he's been the GM for the Detroit Red Wings, came out with a statement saying he believes the Toronto Maple Leafs have what it takes to win a Stanley Cup this year. And that's a pretty good statement to make.
That would be something. Now, they haven't won a cup since '67,
right?
I think. So they're the team that I think they have the longest drought.
Yes. But he came out with that statement today, and that's a pretty bold statement to make early on in the season.
Well, I'll tell you
that this team has that much talent.
I mean, they're like the Chicago Cubs. It's not that bad, but I mean, they have this rabid fan base. You see so many Toronto Maple Leafs fans, and they've been fans for a long time, and they've never seen a cup, and they make that joke they only have water fountains in Toronto.
Yeah, right.
Because they don't have any cups.
And the other thing is, you have to also remember the only reason that they don't have another professional hockey team is because of that fan base.
Right.
They have basically blocked out any other NHL team coming in there. Because remember, Hamilton was trying to get Toronto, another team to go up against Toronto, and
that's
they said that was it.
Yeah, that was Hamilton. Hey, so I think we got to go to the second period already. We're already there.
Yeah, we are. We're getting into now UConn.
Let's see that second picture. We got the second period here.
Yeah. And that's the AIC game. UConn really got behind the 8 ball right away. They were down 3-0 early on to AIC.
Yeah, that was that was an interesting night just to begin with because the Wolfpack were at home against Toronto Marlies, and in Springfield you had UConn versus AIC. And so the Knowledge Corridor, which is pretty much the 91 corridor, but it was rocking with hockey.
Yeah.
So we were at the Wolfpack game, but yet we were getting some updates there, and we were like, "Holy cow! UConn's down 3-0," and even that Creel, which is a backup goaltender, was chased for UConn 14-31 into the first period. So 3 goals in 14 minutes and 30 seconds. He's gone. They got to pull Huska in. And then it started to happen.
It really did, and they ended up coming all the way back and winning the game 6-4.
Right,
which is outstanding because this is, first of all, what was the stat that AIC has not beat UConn in how many meetings?
How about this? So it was kind of interesting. Last year, Jerry and I saw a 2-2 tie where UConn played kind of lazily and got a 2-2 tie with AIC.
It was a dreadful game.
It was. It felt like a loss, but in reality, UConn has not lost to AIC in over 20 straight matchups. So they're 16-0-4. In that time, so it was 3-0. It looked like it was, and don't forget UConn. I think UConn came back in a flurry or whatever, and tied it up 3-3, and then AIC went ahead again 4-3, and then UConn came back and scored another 3, and it was Pavlosov got the hat trick for UConn. So how about that? I mean, he got a hat trick, and Laternov a couple points. Cole Snyder has been a very impressive. I'm sorry, I got the wrong guy. Yeah, I'm thinking a UConn guy, but he went to that. Yeah, he did. But so and then Spencer Nass hit the post. He's a senior there. Laternov is a junior, so you got good leadership core on the upperclassmen.
And you have the four new freshmen.
Yeah,
coming
the freshmen,
in this year.
and then of course you got what we think is one of the greatest goaltenders in Hockey East in Huska.
Yeah,
so
it's going to see where he goes in the NHL, because you can already see him in the first 2 years really making a statement as a good goalie for UConn.
Right. That was AIC and UConn. They're close in geographic sense, but maybe not so close in the terms of the talent level and stuff.
Well,
but AIC is a smaller college.
When you put it at 16-0-4, you're right. But
16-0-4.
let me tell you, when we saw the 2-2 game last year, AIC gave them a run for their money.
They did. I mean, they played out of their minds. But if they walk away with a point there, that's great. That was a good thing for UConn though, because they kind of do come in flat in these non-conference games, which we'll get into in a second. But for them to come back, it kind of gives you a little like, hey, you did this. Now, can you do it against the next team that puts you up against the wall? That's the good question.
Now, Friday night, they travel up to Boston, and they play Boston University for the first of 2 this weekend.
Right.
Friday night, they're in Boston. Saturday night, here in Hartford.
Right.
And that's going to be a big contest. And like I was saying to Peter, they have to at least split. Because you don't want them to get too far behind in the standings. They lost the other night to Sacred Heart 3-1.
Yeah.
Before that, who'd they start out with? They split with Maine.
That's right.
They had 1-1 with Maine.
Yeah. So they got.
Because that game was in Bridgeport, wasn't it?
No, that was last year. But this year was 2 games in Maine.
Both in Maine.
Yeah, they were both in Maine for some reason, and then they lost in overtime the first game, and then they won the second one
quite handily.
Yeah, they did, and that was great. So that we haven't seen a blowout yet, which is good to go. But this is a really good early season test. You're probably going to see Huska for both of those games,
and you're probably going to have a decent crowd on a Saturday night. In
yeah. The Whaler guys are going to split up and kind of cover UConn. Jerry's going to probably be at the game Saturday night for UConn hockey against BU, and I will be in stores watching UConn soccer versus University of Central Florida. So maybe we'll do a Facebook Live. Follow our page on Whalers Brigade on Facebook if you want to see. We'll give you a little tidbit look inside the XL Center and the soccer field of stores.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking at the teams last year when BU came to town. They always get up for the games, and you want them to get up for the games because this is a huge opponent for us.
Right.
And we really have to get over that. It seemed like I'm not speaking for the team, but it seems like an intimidation. They're always back on their heels with, especially BU, the games that we've seen. And they have to get out that quick start, and we've talked about it all the time. The quicker you get in there and forecheck and bother the hell out of them, and you take over your house. They come in, and they're ready to go.
And there's something weird about it, I tell you. UConn has the darndest time with Sacred Heart. I cannot figure it out. They always struggle. There was a tie last year, I think, and they lost last year to Sacred Heart. I think they lost to Sacred Heart at the Frieda Center in the first game of the season last year. This is just going off memory, so I may not be 100%. But the point is like, I don't know what it is about Sacred Heart. It's like, what's wrong with these guys? I mean, are they?
They must really get up for the game.
I guess so. It's weird, but they got beat by Sacred Heart, and that kind of happens. That they're going to end up playing Quinnipiac, and that's another tough opponent for them. So, but BU is a good contest. They did stun them. We bring up a lot, and they beat BU in BU last year 4-0 with a nice shutout. So,
this year, like last year with Maine, they won, and then they lost at Fenway. And now they split again with them this year. These are games we have to win in Hockey East.
If you want to get in the playoffs this year.
Exactly.
So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But overall, getting Kavanaugh to after the first period against AIC, he gets them in there for the intermission, and from what we, of course we weren't at the game. From what we hear, second period, UConn comes out like they got a lit of fire under their behind. So that is good to hear, because it also means that Kavanaugh definitely is still reaching this team.
Sure.
They don't want to hear again like in Miracle.
Yeah. Hey, again, he has to be careful because they're college kids. You don't want to squash them right away.
Right.
It's a little different when you have the Wolfpack or the NHL. These are guys getting paid for what they do.
Right.
It's their job.
Right.
These guys are playing college hockey.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of tenderly, especially this generation.
True. Yeah, it is true.
So I'm looking forward to seeing UConn on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I hope there's a big crowd.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it's time for hockey, and it's great to have hockey back, because the Wolfpack played, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But they're up to 5 games now.
Yeah.
And now UConn is going into their 4th or 5th game.
Yeah, right.
And we're starting to see some of the chemistry, and obviously with the AIC win being 6-4, down 3-0.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of chemistry to get all on the same page.
I mean, you know this as well as anybody. We watched a lot of UConn games, and it's always been use your defense to win the game. So they're down 3-0 in the first period. 2 years ago we say they're doomed. I mean, they don't score 4 goals or 5 goals or 6 goals, and here they are. They were able to rattle off 6 goals. And I know it's AIC, and I know it's a non-conference opponent, but the point is that you're down 3 goals. This team a year or 2 ago, they didn't have the offensive firepower to do that. Exactly. Now it seems like they have the chemistry and the guns. There's a couple NHL draftees on this team,
yes.
So that all looks pretty good. This
really
weekend will tell us a lot. Next week the show might be holy crap, they really blew it, or hey, they got a split, or if they sweep, what a show it'll be next week.
Let me tell you, if it's a sweep, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to move right to the third period now.
Here's the third period. We got another picture Danny can put up there. This is actually, by the way, the first 2 pictures. First one is from the NHL, of course, and the second picture was from the UConn blog. This is a stellar shot I did myself from the top of the rafters in the XL Center.
And that's why you're not a photographer.
That's why I'm not a photographer.
But I will give you credit, because I wouldn't take a picture like
well,
that.
That's a cell phone picture.
That is.
But anyway, so what we're talking about.
We had a lot of fun. We heard a lot of. Keith McCambridge was on ESPN Radio 97.9 being interviewed by Rob Dibble. Mm-hmm. And, again, Keith McCambridge is a down-to-earth guy, but you can tell he's a no-nonsense guy.
Right.
So it was my first Wolfpack game to go to this year because of commitments I've had, and he was speaking very kindly of the Toronto Marlies, that they're a fast team, they have a fast first line. Mm-hmm. And so Pete and I get to the game thinking, okay, well, I hope the Wolfpack is ready for this, and right away the Wolfpack get off to a great start, and I was kind of waiting for Toronto to show their speed.
Oh yeah.
The Wolfpack had them contained. Basically, right through the third period.
Yeah.
I mean, they start out right away. For the Toronto, Sparks was in goal, and Nell was in goal for the Wolfpack.
For the Wolfpack, that's right.
And it was a great crowd.
Yeah.
Not a great crowd. It was a medium-sized crowd. The first crowd of the season was like 6,000.
Yeah.
Which happens all the time.
Right.
And right away, at 5:03, Tambellini from Bunevis and Kosmachuk got on the board with the first goal. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, end of the first period, the Wolfpack is out shooting the Marlies 11-5.
Yeah. It was, it was an interesting game because Toronto I've watched a lot of Toronto when they do come here. There was a couple seasons when Toronto didn't come here because they were in a different conference and they just, didn't make the trip to Hartford. But every time they came to Hartford, they would just, I've seen 5-0s, I've seen 7-1s. It's just something about Toronto, and it's like, boy, they always school the Wolfpack, something pretty hard. So for them to even walk out with the win, I thought was huge. And pretty much, from start to finish, they dominated the game. That first period was big. They got the lead.
And that's a huge boost going in the locker room.
Yeah, it is.
Especially with a team that's that fast.
Right.
Again, I didn't see it. I thought, and maybe we didn't see it because the Wolfpack contained them that well.
Right.
The shots that they did get off, Nell didn't have a problem.
Right. And then that's what I think. I think originally I thought that Georgiev would be the goalie that the Wolfpack would kind of go to, but Chris Nell has been the guy, and they started him against Toronto, and then the next night they played Springfield. They started Chris Nell again, and we thought it was going pretty well. And through 2 periods, the Wolfpack had a 3-0 lead, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. And then
we're in intermission, grabbing a coffee, and I said, hey, it's Friday the 13th. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
And I said to him jokingly, I said to Peter jokingly, hey, 4-3, Toronto's going to win.
Yeah, maybe.
Add an empty netter for 5-3.
Yeah.
No, it ends up going the other way, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
Wolfpack take the 3-0 lead.
Yeah.
And because then in the second period, you had goals by Pumpel and then Boo Nevis on a power play goal.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a big thing.
Yeah.
A power play goal.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Joe Whitney with the assist and Kazmachuk again.
Yeah.
And then in the third period, 2 Hartford Whalers sons, Kasperi Kapanen, wearing his father's number 24, and Brian Marchman's son.
Mason Marchman.
He got into a scrap.
He got in
and it was
Yeah.
great. So Kapanen and then Vincent Laverty scored 45 seconons apart.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we thought it was doomed. We thought we were screwed.
Oh, yeah. And the second goal was just, a complete. It reminded me of last year. This guy, comes down the ice, Lavardi there, and he just skates around the defense, and he just put it around Nell, who was sprawled out waiting for a shot.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I think I could have scored on that play. And then it was 3-2, and we're like, oh my God, here we go. And Jerry's like,
here it comes.
So we're waiting to see how that works out. But they were able to bounce back.
Then at 37 seconds left in the period, Cole Snyder added the empty netter.
Yeah.
And then Joe Whitney, another empty netter at 19:59. 1 second left on the clock.
Yeah.
And the Wolfpack end up winning 5-2.
And I think I told you, Joe Whitney is this guy they got in the AHL. He's a veteran. He's a scorer, this and that. And I told Jerry, I'm like, he'll at least get a point tonight. So he got an assist and a goal.
Yep.
And
he got the assist and a goal.
Yeah, and they really did they were able to create that distance and hold the lead, even though they came short.
And then the other big news is Philippe Sentil is the youngest player since 1972 to play in the AHL.
Yeah.
18 years old.
Yeah.
September 5th, he turned 18.
Oh, wow.
And the news for him was on Sunday when they played the Springfield Thunderbirds.
Right.
And he got a goal and a game-winning goal and 2 assists.
And it was the game's first star. So,
that was Springfield's home opener, and they attracted 6,700 almost.
Yeah, they sold out the Springfield game.
Almost 6,800.
And they beat them 4-3, and the Wolfpack took a 4-1 lead in that game. And held on, and that was another Chris Nell win. And one great thing about that is Keith McCambridge, the coach of the Wolfpack, told us, hey, I'm going to keep them on their toes. They're going to be pressing. And we saw that in the Toronto game where they attacked the puck carrier. The puck carrier, go get that guy. And then
especially on a power play.
Right.
Remember that? We were watching a power play, and I'll say, oh, here's a power play for Toronto.
Yeah.
And they went right after it.
Yeah.
There's something neat to be said. On the second goal for Toronto, that was a shorthanded one.
Yeah, that was
that kind of takes the air out of sails.
It really does. And that was the one that just went around and scored.
That was the
and
one.
it's like you have less guys and you still got through all that.
That was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And then, the other thing you have to look at is Bo Neves.
Yeah.
He scored his second goal of the season in the Springfield game.
Yeah.
And then they stretched it out a bit. And John Gilmore's nice wrist shot from the point. Found the back of the net.
Yeah, he's a good offensive defenseman. I think he was a minus in the 30s. He was a minus 30 something last year, and that was the worst in the league. So.
And it was 4-3, but it should have been really 4-2 because with 15.7 seconds left. Lamenko for Springfield score on a deflected shot.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
so it could have been.
Happens.
It really could have been 4-2.
Yeah, in that game though, Keith McCambridge, the coach of the Wolfpack, said, balanced attack. So they had 11 shots in the first period. They had 13 shots in the second period, and they had 14 shots. I mean, they even went up as the game went along, and you love to see that if you're a coach of a team.
That's steady.
It's steady, and you're even increasing the pressure a little bit, and they already had the 4-1 lead, and they're getting 14 shots, 13 shots a period.
Yeah.
That's going to work if they do that.
Yes, and they have to just stay maintaining, and Coach McCambridge will be doing that.
Yeah.
So.
And hey, we're not exactly the biggest Ranger fans in the world, but if the Wolfpack are winning and more people go to the XL Center, that's better for the XL Center. That's better for NHL chances. That's better for the state.
Especially the current budget.
Right.
There's
so
no money.
And it's going to be some good hockey this year. I mean, it really is. We enjoyed the game. It's great to see these AHLers. Some of them you'll see in the NHL. Sometimes you'll see a former Hartford Whalers son. So we saw 2 of them.
Look at Las Vegas. They have a minor leaguer up there now because they're breaking it up.
Yeah.
So, hey, we are
it's
all
over
done.
Already. End of the
this
third.
Is the end of the game.
Wow.
We'll
no overtime.
Post up, and we'll do a post game another day.
Yeah.
You guys have a great night. We're the Whaler guys. You guys are the Brigade. We're One Nation Under Green.